me, right? I mean, basically what you're doing is you're setting up your own TV channel, right? That's what you're doing. You are deciding where is there a gap in the market and how are we going to fill it. And if there is a gap in the market, what other stuff is there in that area that's kind of similar to what we want to do? Because that's going to help me with my branding. Vice is a really good place to start. Where else is there that's kind of... So here's a good way to start with it, I always think. Do a brainstorm, right? Think about the channel that you're planning to make, and think about the keywords that you would associate. If somebody says to you, hey, what's this new channel of yours going to be like? You should be able to say, Okay? So, for example, controversial.
That's what we did say.
Have you done all that? Have you written all that down?
Not really.
No.
Because you've got to, you see, what you're trying to do is you're trying to brand it, and before you can brand it, you've got to identify it, haven't you? So what is this thing? Is it controversial? Is it provocative? Is it challenging? Right? Maybe not. Is it pushing the limits? Is it political? Is it artistic? Do you know what I mean? Is it analytical, or is it just fun? Is it messing around? Do you know what I mean? Think about or is there room for all these things? But I think you have to define it. And I think once you define it, that's going to help you then start branding it. Yeah? So you know Channel 4?
Yeah.
I've probably already mentioned this. Did I tell you this, that when they set up Channel 4?
Yeah.
Do you remember?
Yeah.
Make trouble.
Yeah.
That was one of their mission statements. Right? Now imagine, that's a terrestrial TV channel, one of only 4 in Britain. And they're saying that we want to make trouble. We're going to get in there, we're going to rough up the big boys and make it tough for them because we need to compete with them. Yeah? We're not going to go down the cosy BBC One route, we're going to be controversial. That was what they set out to do. Right? Challenge. Be provocative. Okay? Now, I think probably programs like channels like Vice probably take that to a much further extreme, don't they? Because they're not constrained by things like advertisers and things like that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Fair enough.
They haven't got to worry about Coca-Cola withdrawing their sponsorship or whatever, so they can do all sorts of stuff. Yeah? Are there other programs you've seen or YouTube channels you've seen where the presenters are kind of a sort of more adult in the way they approach their subject matter, or maybe more challenging, or provocative, or rude, or what? Do you know what I mean?
But it's not really got anything to do with Vice.
No?
No, but I've seen stuff like where they interview people and they talk about, like, say as an artist, mostly artists come from the British UK scene, and they talk about like the situations they've had or stuff like that, and then like sometimes they do go over the limit with what, like this, that, stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? Or the Breakfast Show in America. They talk about, like, you know how, like, the entertainment industry in America, like, there's always, like, problems and stuff. So, like, there's a presenter there that always gets into that person, that gets into people, and he's known for doing that. He's known for going over the limit, even when it's on radio.
I got you. So this is a personality, isn't it?
Yeah.
This is a kind of a DJ presenter
basically.
Okay. Now that's slightly different from a channel.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah. So you've got people like Eddie Huang who does all that food stuff. You know, he travels the world and he kind of looks at culture, looks at food, but he does it in a very sort of. Have you seen it? Yeah. Fresh off the boat. You've seen it. It's good, isn't it? It's fantastic. Do you know Fresh Off the Boat? You should watch it at some point. I mean, it's basically he's a Korean American. He arrived in America when he was about 10 or 8 or something, and he's set up a fantastically successful place in New York, which is called the Bauhaus. So the standard Korean little street food is called a bao. And there is a famous German design school from the 1920s called the Bauhaus, and it's a play on words, okay? But he now goes around the world, visiting all different countries, and he's great because he goes out on the street, he tries all the street food, he talks to people, and he's not really interested in high-class restaurants. He wants to know what ordinary people are eating. So when he comes to London, you see the ones he's done in London? Yeah, so he comes to London. It's really good because he gives you feel he really understands. This guy's got London, just like that. You know, ordinary London we all recognise. He doesn't go into posh restaurants, but he goes to Brick Lane and he goes to Brixton and he's talking to all the people on the street. It's a really, really nice thing. It's a really, and it's terribly entertaining. So he's got a big personality.
So basically, that's something we're trying to go for, like being entertaining. Like, remember we said have fun with it, but also be informative.
And like involve with the audience.
Good. Yeah. I think that's a good idea. So what you're going to have to, I think you've got to make three different little films. Yeah. So you've got to make sure, obviously, that your 3 films kind of fit together as a kind of a stylistically almost. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They look like they belong in the same stable. Although they can be slightly different, obviously you can deal with subject matter. But they look like they would fit comfortably. Yeah? So you'd have to think about that as well. But you're in a great metropolis here, so you've got access to culture, you've got access to every conceivable kind of, artistic endeavour. There should be stuff around here that you can make films about, talk about.
Of course.
Yeah? But you've got to package all this inside a channel. So the programs are one thing. It's packaging and branding it in a channel that attracts an audience and looks good on an audience. So that's where the branding comes in. Colours you use, the feel of the show, the logo, the design of the logo. Who's a good designer from you 3?
We'll work on it, I guess. We have to kind of put all our personalities together into one.
Okay, well, so obviously what you need to do is it would be helpful if you could come up for a name, wouldn't it, of the channel? So have you got any ideas, Olivia, for a name for the channel?
I want to do something kind of similar to this, like random. I don't know.
Oh, what? Like the word random?
No, I mean like something similar to Vice, like a random word.
A random word. But you see, the thing is about Vice...
Sounds like it came from
the thing about
advice.
Vice is not a random word, though, is it? Because it immediately conjures up something, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, I want to pick that up. Do you know what I mean? What 18-year-old would not want to pick up a magazine called Vice?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's screaming to be picked up, isn't it? You'd be bored if you picked it up and it just had a kind of photographs of food inside it, right? You want all the rest of it. So maybe what you need to find is a word that is...
catchy.
Yeah, but it's reasonably random, but actually has a kind of a resonance of some kind or other, okay? So when you think back to all those... I don't know. Think back to all those groups that were big in Britain about 20 years ago. Oasis, Blur, Pulp. These words don't necessarily mean anything, do they? But they were good words to choose for a band. They kind of defined the band, and they were kind of distinctive.
I think Oasis is the best one. Name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's a good name actually, and you think what does it stand for? But maybe it means in a desert
Pulp's
of...
quite good as well.
Yeah.
It's like,
mashing stuff up, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's kind of got connotations. Like Oasis is a nice, calm little place, isn't it? In a desert of nothingness. So they're like saying, you want something refreshing? Come here to Oasis. You could tempt it anyways. Okay, so names are important. Okay. So what you should maybe do is do some brainstorming around the names. Okay.
Yeah.
One of the things I often do is, like, if I get stuck, is I use a thesaurus. Do you do that? Type in Vice, see what comes up, and you'd be amazed. There'll be all sorts of things will come up, and sometimes what you want is something kind of fairly obscure. Obscure. There you go. That's a good name for a channel. But do you know what I mean? Sometimes something will hit you. Yeah.
Cheers.